This is the number one reason why your sales coaching ability is not cutting it. And that's because you've never been taught how to coach a sales call. And you might not even know what to look for in coaching a sales call. So I'm gonna cover all of that in this video. The number one thing is you need to make sure you are coaching the sales call as somebody who is collaboratively supporting the sales rep you are coaching. It's a very vulnerable thing to have your sales call coach. If you're an entrepreneur, you might remember a point in time in your career where you shared a sales call with somebody and it was scary. It felt super vulnerable. It's actually you as a human being in real time executing a process with another human being, and a lot of the time, you actually don't end up doing the thing you know you need to do or whatever else. That's number one. Make sure you're really supportive and collaborative. Number two is, the first thing you need to make sure you're coaching is their energy. If someone's not able to be steady, if someone's not in the right state of mind, and if someone is just not present, all of the other things don't matter. You can coach the other things and they'll never actually be able to apply them in real time. So how do you coach that? And you really want to hire against that also, but how do you coach that? Man, make sure that they have some sort of daily check-in routine. Are they doing some sort of steady exercise, even if it's just going on a walk? Are they taking breaks throughout their day? If it's their 7th sales call of the day and they've gone back to back to back to back to back, they're just not going to be optimized for performance, right? So that's really important. And then the last thing you need to do is make sure you are not over coaching them. If any of you have played golf or any other sport or really any instrument or had any sort of hobby at all, you can probably think back to a time where a significant figure or mentor in your life coached you on like 17 different things you needed to do. And the next time you went up to bat or you went up to swing or you went to play the song, you were like massively overwhelmed and you had to try and process all of that information right then and there. And actually, usually that will degrade the ability, that will actually like diminish the execution and effectiveness of whatever you're doing because now you're thinking way too much. So the better way to coach is to find the one thing, maybe the two things, but really the one thing, and this is depending on their skill level, their ability level, and how locked in they are to your process, but find the one, again, maybe the two things that they can work on. Don't worry about anything else and really support them in practicing that. So what I like to do is I like to view a sales call from like front to back in a chronological order, just like I would a marketing funnel or any sort of funnel. The better I am at the beginning, the easier it's gonna be at the end, okay? So what that means is if there's something in the very beginning in their call, in the first 10 minutes of their call that they need work on that would make the rest of the call much easier, that's the one thing they're gonna work on. Maybe I'll listen to the rest of the call, maybe I won't. But what I want them to do is to go and work on that thing for a week and come back to me and update me with their process. And even if I see a 1% improvement from that call that I coached to the next call on that one thing I told them to coach them on, I support them. It's gonna make them feel like they're wildly supported by their leadership. It's gonna excite them, it's gonna incentivize them, and they'll continue to work on it and get better at it, right? Now, the only time I would ever coach on two things is if the first thing I need them to work on is gonna take them a day or two to knock out, and I'm probably not coaching them again for a couple of days, right? So if it's a Monday and I'm doing a weekly skill focus where I'm telling them or going through with them the number one thing that they need to work on throughout the week in their practice time apart from taking calls, and I know it's something they can work on by themselves, like their tonality or the way they are inflecting a sentence or something like that that's really small and minuscule, that they'll be able to basically probably fix and practice on their own time in a day, then I might give them a second thing that takes more practice, right? But the number one thing I think, besides making sure that they feel wildly supported and just making sure that they're in the right head and emotional space to be taking sales calls, is to not overcoach. You can go check out any of the big coaches in any sort of space. Phil Jackson was all about meditation and energetic presence. And then how do you rep drills in anything over and over and over and over and over again? What's the difference between an NBA player and me? I'm making sure I make the last shot, then I'm walking out the gym. They're making sure they make the last 100 shots in a row, then they're walking out the gym. If your salespeople practice in the same way and you coach them to be that linearly focused on the thing they need to work on, they will improve. And so will you in anything you do in life. So, life advice with Jake, the fractional sales director.